Okay, hello guys, we're back with another video. Silo, season 2, episode 6. And I got a lot to say, so we'll just start it. I'll give some insight on things, theories, extra details you may not have noticed, as well as breaking down the episode. So first it starts with like the riots we saw at the end of last episode, kind of saying let them through. They're shouting let them through at the barricades, and at the same time we see Knox and Shirley kind of settling down after running, with Knox getting his wound cleaned and Walker asking when they're gonna get Carla back. That's kind of her main objective right now. Knox tells them to follow him. He goes down to his friend that we saw in episode 3, I think, maybe 2, who he talked to, who he asked. He requested not to make guns for anyone, and he said, that's the first thing. Now the second thing is this, and they cut away and we never got an answer, and I was like, okay. But he requested him to make weapons for only them. Then we go to the cafeteria where we learn that rat poison was put in the food. It was put in the food deliveries as well, but as well as the mechanical kitchen, which means someone down here was working for Bernard. And my initial prediction, I guess, if I make someone that we know, I'd say Teddy. Teddy's kind of reaction here, it's subtle and it's in the background. But at the same time, I feel like if they would have created this setup that it's someone down here, that it's someone we know, not someone we don't know, but it could very well be. Then Bernard said that there is a truth that was even prevalent in the before times, that missed meals caused chaos. And that's his plan, I guess, to get rid of their food supply. Then we go back to Patrick Kennedy, Paul, Hank, kind of in a room, I guess, with Felix as Patrick Kennedy's doctor. He's not a real doctor. He's the shadow of a doctor, and he's very stressed. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's got no drugs, but he's got aspirin. And this was actually genuinely funny. After this, we go to Knox and Shirley in the cafeteria, and the mechanicals kind of yelling at them, saying that they need to turn themselves in for the good of the silo. And then Walker steps up, as the leader she is, and says that we need to tighten our belts around here, basically, and I guess not send them away. Then Teddy, still don't trust you, Teddy. Teddy comes in with food that came from the chute that was donated by people who believed in their cause, that believe in the rebellion, that believe Juliet still lives. Then we go to Kathleen and Dr. Nichols, who meet again. She explains that Paul needs an actual doctor, not Felix. Sorry, Felix. But here I was like, how did she find him? She just happened to know the exact stair he was going to be at on the evening walk or whatever he's walking to. But I'll suspend disbelief. Then we go to Bernard, who hears about this dropping food. And at the same time, we go to the back to the cafeteria, where Shirley and Knox come up with a plan. They ask what level the barricade is on. They say it's on 130. And she says, what if it was on 120? We cut away. Then we go to Paul, Billings, and Hank, who ask Walker some questions. They ask, what's going on with the murder? You know, kind of a thing. And she's like, I'm not going to say anything until I know where Carla is. So they go off and do that. Then as Kathleen and Dr. Nichols try and go down the stairs, Judicial, I guess, blocks them off right when they're going down, blocks off Dr. Nichols. Is like, yo, get the hell out of here. I don't care that you have a patient to help. But Kathleen comes in and says, you're in violation of the pact by preventing a doctor from life-saving health care to help someone else. And they have to go through this barricade with all these people here, but they managed to like slip in and not get like destroyed, even with the baby, which is great. Maybe the baby was good protection. Then we go back to Lucas, who's working on this hard drive even more. He says he's moving the letters one number forward, one number back, increasing the number to 3, 4, and decided to make a program to make it simpler. He's making a program, and Bernard says that he's doing a Caesar shift, which is interesting. And the Caesar shift is actually a real thing in the modern world. If you're curious, the Caesar shift, also known as the Caesar cipher, yeah, this is on Wikipedia, but is a simple and ancient encryption technique that involves shifting letters in a message a fixed number of positions down the alphabet. So yeah. Then we go back to Bernard, who leaves Lucas to go down to Mrs. Sims, Robert Sims' wife. Ann's like, hey, I heard you let those citizens that murdered Joe's Meadows go. I mean, that's pretty much what he says. And she says, I just saw 2 citizens who needed help. And in case they were the citizens, I put them in a secure area and told Judicial to go get them. And Bernard's like, didn't you run into some people who wanted to go after them? Why didn't you tell anyone else? And she's like, vigilante justice is against the law. And Bernard's like, huh, yeah. He starts to walk away. He comes back and says, I wonder how your husband took this, seeing as he's the one who instructed those civilians to go after them. And she's like, oh, I already told him he's cool. And he's like, oh, I'm curious about what he said. He's not buying it. She obviously didn't tell him. And I still don't trust her. I think the last 2 episodes, really, maybe the last 2 specifically, just little subtleties and clues with her. I explained more in my last video about last episode if you want to go to that. But I'll explain it here in a little bit more in a second. We go to Mechanical, who has now put on their armor and their weapons and are going up to the barricade. And Judicial responds by requesting guns. And then we go to the janitor closet area with the tech people and Diego, he says, yo, my Aunt Doreen. He doesn't say the name, but you can read the message on the computer. It flashes for a second. But he says, Aunt Doreen on 135 told Diego through a silo email that there are armed greaser gang. Okay, it actually says greaser gang headed up to the barricade. Also saw a small gang headed away from the stairs. One of the thugs had a rotary concrete saw. Like, damn, Aunt Doreen still got that eyesight, huh? Like, she saw all that, and Doreen saw all that, and then went and messaged Diego. But his message is pretty much ignored by the head of Judicial. Then we go back to Dr. Nichols, who gets there to work on Patrick Kennedy. And I guess one note I had here is Paul Billings kind of takes the child, holds the child, and he says a line, are you looking around, to the child? And I just... you can rewatch the scene, but it felt improvised to me, which is kind of interesting. But it felt like he just came up with that, which was great. Then we go back to Diego, who is, since the head of Judicial didn't listen to him, he called Sims, went to inform Sims that a group went the other direction with a saw that can cut through concrete. And Sim's like, huh, and then leaves. No, thank you. He doesn't say thank you. And here, I mean, like, the aunt is really ruining this stupid Aunt Doreen, you know? But then we cut to the other side of Mechanical that is cutting through a concrete floor somewhere. And at the same time, Sims is searching for Bernard's, kind of knocks on his office very aggressively, walks in and sees Lucas in his office and not in the mines. Kind of yells at him and then leaves. And then we go to Sims, who can't find Bernard, I guess, who then goes to his wife. Then we go back to Dr. Nichols, who gets the bullet out of Patrick Kennedy, and he places it in the dish and says, I forgot what it was. He says, there it is. That's what he says. There it is. And this is on purpose, parallel, reminiscent of his job with the birth control. He says that exact same thing when he takes out the birth control, puts it down and says, there it is. And this is going to be such an overlooked moment, and I want y'all to listen to this right now, okay? So the symbolism here isn't straightforward, right? For the longest time, he takes out fake birth control, puts it in front of them, says, there it is, there it is, there it is. Now you can have children. It's always fake. But this time, he's doing it actually. He's actually helping someone. He's taking the bullet out and saying, there it is. Showing, I guess the difference here is that before he felt bad, he felt like he was part of the lies of the silo, putting this fake birth control in front of them. But now this is kind of his transition, as we've seen over the season, that he feels like he's actually saying there it is. He's doing it for a good purpose. He's not going into the lies, and this is him, kind of an initial spark of him joining this rebellion. It's just a difference. If you would compare a scene with him removing fake birth control or him helping part of the rebellious cause, And I hope it doesn't get overlooked. It's amazing symbolism.
I am done. And there it is. You're no longer under birth control.
Okay, I know this isn't him, but it's they all say the same thing.
There it is.
Then we go back to Sims, who's talking with his wife. When Sims tells the information he's got, she's like, "There's nothing wrong with letting people suffer their own mistakes." And just like that, these are the clues I'm talking about. These one-off lines that make me not trust her. Like, I feel like she's not with Sims. I felt like that recently, that she's just not on his side. Especially she let people go in season. She let Juliet go in season 1. Helped the other two people last episode, Knox and Shirley, and telling people nothing wrong with letting them suffer their own mistakes. I mean, it's a little one-off line. It's ignored, but I'm gonna call it right now. She has a greater plan. She's some it factor. I don't know. Maybe she's infiltrating Sims, like acting like she likes him. I don't know. Then there's some drilling into the stairs by the mechanical people outside the barricade, and they're in an area where they can't be seen. And then we go back to Patrick, who says that maybe you know you got the bullet out of me, but maybe I'll give you the info you want tomorrow. And then Paul's like, I just want to be in here. And he picks up a chair, slams it down in front of him. And this is serious Paul. This is serious Paul Billings. We don't see Paul Billings chuck down a chair, all right? That's not Paul's mojo, you know? But he's serious Paul today. And you can see it from the acting, the face. He's almost got tears in his eyes that he wants to know. Like, this is a man who has felt so loyal to the law, the pack, the mayor, the judge, who is being told, or is kind of under the assumption that he's been lied to, even though he's been so loyal, and just wants to know what Patrick Kennedy has to say that badly. But he threatens Patrick Kennedy, says he'll radio Sims if he doesn't tell him. And then we get maybe the best scene of the episode. I think I wish we had more of it, but it was Patrick Kennedy telling him about the video that Juliet played for 10 seconds before it was all shut down. The video of the cleaning from, I think it was 170 years ago, they said. I think that number's right. You can correct me in the comments, but I believe that's right. 170-year-old cleaning of green skies and birds and whatnot. And he tells Paul that that's the video that they saw, and says that Sims captured him and told him to throw the Molotov in exchange for drugs that would make him forget. And yeah, Paul gets this information. And then here I was also like kind of worried, like if this drug, I mean, we already know the drug's kind of real, with dang, I forgot her name from season 1. We know the drug's real in a form, but I just Paul getting all this new information, I really hope they don't drug Paul. I was just thinking about that. But then we go to Bernard talking to Judge Meadows' body, saying that they've had 140 years of stability. Again, 140 years ago, Salvador Quinn was the leader of IT. So Salvador Quinn must have done something. But there's 140 years of stability, and he's thinking about the fact that it could end on his watch at everyone. And then he starts crying, and I was like, okay, Bernard, we're actually crying, which I'm not too surprised. Judge Meadows is the only one we've seen him be emotional with any type of vulnerability, who he let boss him around. But then we get Mrs. Sims getting raiders to block off places, even if they were drilling up the floor. And then Shirley and the gang drill up from the floor, come from Supply. Maybe they got something from Supply. We'll see next episode, maybe some more tape. But they went up to 120 to essentially pin or pinch them from 130 and 120. And there's an amazing shot of the camera essentially on the cable line. It was so creative, but the cable gets pulled and the camera goes with it, and we see that the cable was used to attach the door, pull the door off. So the barricade door's off, they're coming from the bottom, and then the other people drilled above them 10 levels, and they're going to come from above, and they're going to essentially pinch them. But they realize that Judicial realize it, they get ahead of them and end up having both of them chase them all the way up to 120. and they get pinned. People coming from above. The line in front of them here is blocked off, and it was good until it wasn't. But then Nox goes up to him, leader of Mechanical against leader of Judicial. Very poignant maybe moment. It's not poignant, but it's cool. The leaders of both sides meeting up, and Nox says, you'll kill 10 of us, then we kill all of you, and we take the stairs. So maybe this isn't the best fight for you. And they say, make this level the new boundary, and let's get on with it. And then we turn to Mrs. Sims again, who starts nodding her head and agreeing again. She's on our side, I think, maybe. But then head of Judicial goes back to Bernard. Bernard's like, why would you let them do that? 122, level 122 is a farm, and we're trying to starve them. Now they have access to a farm. And by the way, that's how the levels work. I know it's a little confusing. Like level 1 is like all the way at the top, and it goes down. So since they have the barricade at level 120, level 122 is in their range now. Then we go to Paul, who goes to Walker and says, I've been busy looking for what happened to Carla. Carla has not been turned into any deputy station. Carla might have been taken into seclusion, just like Patrick Kennedy. And Walker's like, no, she has health issues. She cannot do that. Maybe it's breathing issues, something like that. I don't remember anything of that nature, but this might be the first time they're telling us. But Paul says he can only clear her name if Walker explains what actually happened to Judge Meadows. Then we go to Shirley and Knox, who are awfully close while sharing a drink. And then, they decide not to share the drink and start kissing very, very, very aggressively. Like, that's... No. But they get interrupted by Paul coming in and essentially asks what happens. He said that Walker said that they were framed and wants to ask if they would swear on the pact that this is true. Shirley talks for both of them, says she would. And Paul's like, oh shoot, they're all saying that Bernard and Sims framed them. Then Paul gets on the radio. The mayor says, I've located the fugitives, but I'm not revealing their location. Not until we put them through trial or something. Not until we get an investigation of Judge Meadows' death. And Bernard says, shoot, disable all radios in the silo. Instantly does that, cuts communication with Paul. And then he says, F me, I just lost the sheriff. And this is down to season 1, right? Where they wanted Paul as the sheriff. Like every episode, it seemed like they wanted to get Paul the sheriff and get Julia out of there. That's what they wanted from the very beginning, because they wanted a sheriff that they could depend on, one that was so loyal to the pact that they could get to do whatever they wanted. But no, Paul has been lost, and Bernard's in trouble. Then we go to Paul again. Paul, I like saying his name. Paul and his wife Kathleen. Jeez, not Keelan. Asks him when the last time he was taking his herbs. His herbs are supposed to help his syndrome, and then asks for him to pass the water. It's like, why are you doing that? The syndrome is not good. And he holds up the water glass, tries to pass it to her, and nothing happens. His hand's not shaking, holding it into the air. He doesn't have the syndrome. And he says, I don't know what's changed. And she says, maybe you have. And I'm like, what? That's no, what? Basically my reaction. And so somehow a mental change has changed the syndrome. Maybe him more so believing, or maybe he's less stressed about trying to impress his superiors because he doesn't really trust them anymore. But he's believing in the actual truth, no longer the lies. Somehow the syndrome is gone for him. I hope we get more on that. Then we go back to Lucas, who is with Bernard, explaining Salvador Quinn's code and what he did when he put the alphabet reversed 3 letters over, and sees everything else is gibberish except one word that's Silo, S-I-L-L-O. And he's like, that's interesting. I don't think he would have messed that up, but that's interesting. But he reverses it and shifts it over 10 letters and sees the word Allie, A-L-L-I-E, which I believe they said was his daughter's name. And we're noticing that when you shift over, it's only one coherent word at a time, a code within a code. And Bernard says, to complete this code, you would have to see the legacy to decipher it. And I was like, whoa, what's the legacy? And he's like, whoa, what's the legacy? Bernard goes and grabs a pact, says, I elect you, Lucas, to be my shadow, and yells at him, do you want to be my shadow? Do you want to be your shadow? Put your hand and repeat after me. And I was like, dang, okay. So if he has to be his shadow to see the legacy, I'm guessing the legacy is what they call the vault, or what's inside the vault. The screen he's looking at, maybe the information in the vault has to do with the legacy to decipher this. 100% actually, because not 100%, but he needed Judge Meadows to be his shadow to see the vault when we knew it was the vault. And I feel like it's the vault. But I guess we can talk about that more too, with Solo's been locked in the vault for a while. I don't remember the exact number. I'm sorry, I don't remember a few things, guys. I'm supposed to. It's 15 or 17 years, something like that. But Solo has a ton of information. You know, he knows about circuses, birds, all that jazz. And he's been locked in a vault. So maybe this legacy is some sort of information or legacy of human nature before the silos were even made. Then we go to Dr. Nichols visiting Walker, and Walker explains that there was a different tape used for cleaning, and they talk about the fact that she may still be alive. Walker says no, and they kind of just have a deep conversation, I guess. And here I was like, wait, Juliet. I just thought about it. We haven't seen Juliet or Solo when Juliet like passed out. But as I thought that, we go to Juliet on a bed now, probably the bed she fell under, with Solo kind of in the distance cooking up something, and says she had a bad infection. Again, I'm glad he's aware of what an infection is, but says he had antibiotics he made, which is probably what he was doing, and kind of gives her a blackmail kind of a thing, or not blackmail, ultimatum kind of. Oh, also Juliet, as soon as she wakes up, she says, I want the suit and I have to get back to my silo. Like, Juliet, that can't be the first thing you say to this man. It can't be. But he says that he has the suit and he won't give it up until she has gotten the water pump to stop pumping so the silo doesn't flood. And that's it. And we're probably gonna carry on with that, but I'm like, are you kidding me? Can we just get Juliet back to her silo? I want her silo to see she's still alive, please. And I was like, they better not wait till the freaking finale to have the silo see that she's still alive. And they might wait all the way to the freaking finale. I hope they do it like next episode. They're probably not going to. Maybe 8, 9, 10. I don't know. But yeah. But anyways, guys, yeah, that's my video. And as always, thank you for watching, especially y'all that watched all the way through. And I'll be back next week. Actually, it might be an earlier episode because of Christmas. Actually, Christmas is early in the week, huh? I'll upload the video whenever it is. But thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.